Why Berlin? Why did I move here? People often ask me this, and my first response is David Bowie. It's a bit flippant, but because of his connection to the city. My second response is the history here makes me feel very small. Small in the time sense, not in the physical sense, because I'm 2 meters tall, but even so. But really the main reason I moved here was because of its reputation as being the techno capital of the world, and by association, it has a very keen ear for electronic music. Some of the world's best known, most respected DJs, producers live here. In Berlin, electronic music is treated seriously, just as seriously as any other genre of music. And it's also home to some of the world's best techno clubs. I mean, some of them run for like 2 nights. It's insane. You wouldn't get that in the UK very easily, or the USA. Definitely not in Sydney. My goodness, you wouldn't. And this isn't the electronic music of the US's big electronic music club circuit. We're not talking about EDM. We're not talking about David Guetta or Martin Garrix or anything like that. It's a little bit more serious than that, a little bit more left field, if you will. Now, I've been living in this city, in this apartment, for the last 3 years. And despite being a strong advocate for digital audio, regular viewers will know that I'm also very keen on vinyl, on listening to records, buying records. I love buying records. In fact, sometimes I like buying them more than playing them. And this city is very well served for vinyl lovers into electronic music. There are numerous record stores here. Now, not all electronic music is designed for clubbing. Some of it is designed for home listening, and sometimes I listen to club music at home and still really enjoy that. So what we're going to look at today is 10 records that I think are musically and sonically very interesting. And these are records that I've bought from stores all over the city. So I'm picking 10 records from 10 different stores. So this could also serve as a vinyl lover's tourist guide to this city. So if you come here and you want to go record shopping and you're into electronic music, what follows could really be of interest to you. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the sound of these records. Nowadays, all it takes is 2 clicks and you're listening for yourself. So that almost makes my descriptors redundant. I'll put links to all the records and all the record stores in the description box below. So please expand that if you're on a phone, check that out. You can click it, you can listen. There'll be stuff from Bandcamp, Tidal, Qobuz, and Spotify. Those are the main sources that I use. And each album or EP featured here sounds incredible on a nice hi-fi system or behind a great pair of headphones. So you can't really come to Berlin as an electronic music fan and not visit Hardwax in Kreuzberg. It's one of Berlin's longest standing electronic music vinyl stores, though Mark Ernestus, who owns it, he was one half of Basic Channel many years ago, he is very adamant that his store is not just about techno or electronic music, it's about a wide range of music, including dub, and dub techno and also reggae. But many people still describe Hardwax as the global mecca of techno music on vinyl because you can't buy CDs there. So I go there, once a month, pick up new releases and things like that. And a couple of years ago, I bought this. This is Aleksi Perala's release on Nina Kravitz's label, Trip. And the cover tells you exactly how this thing sounds. It's a bit techie, it's a bit housey, but it has this real day glow feel to it. There are a lot of very strong chimes and very effervescent sounds sort of burbling along the surface. So our first choice, Aleksi Perala, on Trip. Yeah, it's all written in Russian because Nina Kravitz is Russian. So just around the corner from Hardwax on Reichenberger Strasse is another smaller store, which I think just sells vinyl as well, electronic music mainly, and it's called Sound Metaphors. And it's staffed by very friendly personnel, and they have a great selection of 90s and noughties electronic music, techno, house, IDM, all that kind of thing. So if you go to the back of the store, right to the very back window, turn around, and as if you're looking out of the front window, and then look up, you'll see a neon sign, and flanking that neon sign are two very large red speakers. And in the middle of each red speaker is a Manga sound transducer from Manga Audio. So it's kind of interesting to see in Berlin the high-end audio world intersect squarely with the electronic music world. Anyway, not last year, 6 months ago, I found this bad boy. This is Plastikman's Closer. It's a 3 LP set, although I don't think it has every track on it that the CD has. This is a very dark sounding techno record, not quite as dark as Consumed, but again, like all the records in this video, it's great for home listening. And this is cut at 45 RPM, which is possibly one reason why I think with my turntables here, this on vinyl sounds better than the CD version, which is quite an achievement because I don't often say that. It's not so obviously clear cut normally, but this sounds absolutely bloody amazing. Although of course having a 45 RPM record, we only get one track per side and we're having to stand up and turn the record over every 8 minutes. So if you're like me, you probably have white whales. And what those are records that you've never seen to buy, you just can't find them. And when you do, it's a big event. So I had my Berlin white whale moment almost a year ago to the day. So I found this record. And like the previous one, this is a Plastikman record, kind of. This is a System 7 12-inch that features a 20-minute acid house remix by Richie Hawtin. So it's called Alpha Wave. It's the Plastikman acid house remix. It's enormous. It's just so long. It's massive. It's insane. It was also made at a time when techno was faster. So this is like more of a 135 BPM. Because remember when techno slowed down in the noughties and never really came back? This is a fast oral assault. So this is not for the faint of heart. I love this record. I never thought I would ever see it on vinyl, but I snagged it for €7. Amazing. And I found this at a very tiny little store on the edge of Kreuzberg and Neukölln by the canal. Apparently this store has only been open a year. It's only open in the evenings. I was walking past one night to go and meet a mate at a pub, or a bar. And I walked past him and went, what the hell's that? And it's just one guy. It's called Jackson Records. It's just a blue door, a nice window with a very simple display in the window. But it's full of electronic music and techno records. So I went in and I found this beast of a record for a bargain price. Pretty happy with that. Okay, so we can't really talk about Berlin electronic music techno without mentioning Berghain, which is probably one of the world's most well-known techno clubs. Now, on the top floor of Berghain is the Ostgut Ton offices. That's a record label that's attached to Berghain. This record, you can probably just about see it's sort of stamped into here. It says Ostgut Ton. This is by a guy called Darko. It's an EP that preceded his Utility album, which is also very, very good. This is only 3 tracks. This is a little bit more club friendly than his album, which strips away all the kick drums. And you could buy this from the coat check at Berghain about 2 months ago. So Berghain do sell some records at their coat check. They're selling the new Planetary Assault Systems record right now, I believe. So you can buy records there. I got this from Discogs actually. So yeah, I'm not gonna wait for Berghain to open to go and buy this album, or rather this is an EP, sorry. But yeah, so Berghain, electronic music, which isn't really techno, but it's still very good for home listening, this EP. And it's plain white, it's a white label. And blink and you probably miss it. So HHV, in German we pronounce that HHV. HHV, very funny. Anyway, this is the name of a store in Friedrichshain. It's also a clothing store as well as a vinyl store. And they have an online store which has an enormous catalogue of records. But don't think you can order it there and then go and pick it up, or well, necessarily, because their stock inside the physical store isn't as large as what you can buy online. Anyway, I went down one day about 2 or 3 years ago. I just discovered this. Doesn't tell you much about it on the sleeve. This is by an artist called Holovr, or Holovr, Holovr. And I would describe this as like a little ambient techno symphony. It's an EP in 4 parts. It's very gentle. It sort of undulates, and there's lots of 303 sounds that kind of come in and out. So this is very much suited to home listening. I love this record. I can't remember how I discovered it, but I think this guy has a Bandcamp page. I'll put that link in the description box below. So all of these records will be linked in the description box below. Now, just around the corner from HHV, in the next street, is a record store called Power Park Records. It's, again, a very anonymous looking shop, all glass front pretty much, very white inside, a wide range of records, indie rock, normal rock, I think jazz and all sorts. But in one corner there is a section for 90s electronic music and 2000s electronic music. And that's where I found an original version of Mouse on Mars's Radical Connector. Now, Mouse on Mars started out making very sort of home listening type IDM, and then went really noisy and a little bit avant-garde. And then in the early noughties, they made this album, which I think is probably my favorite of theirs, because it's just so much fun to listen to. And I would best describe it as Aphex Twin meets Daft Punk, but Daft Punk in their 90s phase, not in their current funk phase. So yeah, Mouse on Mars, Radical Connector from Power Park Records. We can't really talk about electronic music, especially in Germany, without mentioning Kraftwerk. This is the Aerodynamic 12-inch. I bought this as a little store round the corner from HHV and Power Park, so they're all in the same area, 3 stores together. And this cost me about, I don't know, was it €5, 10 euros? I don't know. But I didn't buy it for the A-side because I've already got Tour de France soundtracks. That's where this is from. I bought it for the Etienne de Crécy remix on the back, which is a bit like that Plastikman Acid House remix. This is an Acid House stomper. It is not for the faint of heart. Again, it's a very, very exciting listen. It's a club track essentially, or a club version of this song. But for me, the remix absolutely walks all over the original. I think it's absolutely superb. Anyway, so yeah, this is from Audio In, which is a strange name for a record store, don't you think? They have a lot of drum and bass, techno. They're very well schooled in their electronic music, so everything's filed according to label, a bit like Hardwax. They know when they have something valuable or rare. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the walls. There are some bargain bins around, so you can pick up bargains, but this was not one of those, I don't think. I mean, this is a nice copy, it's nice and mint. So yeah, if you're in Berlin, definitely check out Audio In. If you're into electronic music, you might find a white whale or a gem you've never seen before, because it's a little bit off the beaten track. People don't talk about it very often, but I think it's a terrific store. Okay, so now we're back in Bergman Kiez in Kreuzberg, and there's an enormous record store there. It's mostly vinyl. I think there are a few CDs, but not many. It's called Space Hall, and for good reason, because the first room is this enormous hall-like room with a long row of records on the side, rows down the middle. But then I think it's actually 3 stores in one, because I think the row on the side is one store, in the middle is another store, and then the back room is an enormous room dedicated to techno, house, drum and bass, and club music essentially. And it's an absolute must visit if you come to Berlin. I think it's, in some ways as good as Hardwax in terms of its selection, certainly in terms of secondhand and older records. When I first moved here to Berlin, I used to go there every week to go and really dig into stuff that I'd not seen for years. But one record that was really exciting me, I think it was the end of 2016, in fact it's probably one of my favourite records of all time, is this. I think I've mentioned this before on my website. This is DJ Hell's Car Car Car, and it's a 12-inch single, and it sounds very, very much like Kraftwerk. It's almost like a homage to Kraftwerk. You have to check this out. Even if you have the slightest interest in Kraftwerk, you've got to check this out. There's the original version, then there are a couple of remixes, more clubby, also extremely good. There's a remix 12-inch, so another one with another set of remixes on it. I didn't buy that, but I think this is just absolutely fantastic. It's so German, and DJ Hell's from Munich anyway. So And I love the cover art. There is a 7-inch, I think, with a Spanish version and an Italian and a French version. Don't bother with those. It just doesn't work without the German language vocals. Well, they're treated vocals. Yeah, so DJ Hell from Space Hall, definitely do it. Do both. Now, if you go to the Mall of Berlin or the Europa Center in West Berlin, Old West Berlin, you'll come across a store called Saturn. In Germany, it's pronounced Saturn. And this basically looks like Best Buy if you're American, or like a massive version of Dixon's if you're from the UK. So you've got like TVs and phones and cameras and all that kind of stuff. But hiding at the back or upstairs, depending on which store you go to, there is a very, very good selection of vinyl and new release vinyl. So these Saturn stores in Germany, many of them are treated as legitimate vinyl stores, record stores. They sell lots of CDs as well, but you won't have to go hunting for the vinyl because you'll see the massive sign that says Schallplatten. So a record like this is called a Schallplatte, which means sound plate. And this sound plate is this is from Autechre. Many IDM fans will know, electronic music fans will know Autechre. This is their third album, Try Repeat. As I say, Try Repeat. This is that kind of big, crunchy, abstract, avant-garde type sounds. This is not a club record. This is definitely for home listening. This is probably my favorite, although these days Amber is giving it a close run. So I know with Autechre fans, they're pretty, what's the word? They're pretty eager to express their opinions online about what's the best and what's this. But for me, this is probably the peak Autechre. This is from '95, I believe. This is the Warp repress from a couple of years ago. I bought this in Saturn, new release. Saturn is absolutely a place to go and buy new release records, and you can even buy, fairly unusual electronic music there, which is great. So yeah, don't underestimate Saturn and dismiss it as just another electronics goods store. Go and check out the record selection there if you get a chance. Now, tech house is one of the most reviled genres for some hardcore techno fans, and I would probably agree with you, it's a bit bland. But there's very much a strong sort of tech house vibe on this album. It's by Booker Shade. I don't think it's their first album, maybe it's their second album. It's called Movements. This is the 10th anniversary edition. I had to wait 10 years to get this on vinyl. And I bought this from a store called Dussmann. And Dussmann is just up the road from here, like a 10-minute walk. And it's an enormous bookstore. It's an independent bookstore, but it has this very large, it actually has an enormous CD section, a very large vinyl section. It has a great electronic music subsection. That's where I found this. But I've also bought like The Orb, Future Sound of London from there, Nick Jar, Aphex Twin, Plaid. So if a new release comes out and it's not too obscure, I will find it in Dussmann, no problem. It's also my go-to store for Record Store Day because they have lots of the stock there. But this record sounds incredible. This is extremely well produced. It's sort of halfway between home listening and club, but you can definitely sit at home and listen to this. I think this is quite incredible. And again, if you want to hear it for yourself, description box below for links. But if you're into books and you're into vinyl, Dussmann is an absolute must visit when you come to this city. If you like this video, if you found it at all useful or entertaining, the videos I make are just as much about entertainment as they are about helping you find or discover things, then please give us a like below. If you like music as much, if not more, than hi-fi gear, then definitely subscribe to this channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching.